One of the biggest advantages in Two Blue Vortex has created one of the biggest problems in Two Blue Vortex. And I'm here to talk about it, because this could easily change the future for the worst, faster than you can imagine. So this problem revolves around prescience, the series' most valuable Shinjutsu as of right now. This ability allows you to see multiple futures, multiple timelines, and outcomes. Kashin, Koji, and Boruto mainly use this ability for information. So far, they've been using it to guide them to the best futures and future outcomes in order to keep Boruto alive and avoid any future that gives the Shinju the advantage. And although there has been some bumps and bruises in the road, they have been able to do a pretty good job in that aspect. But Koji explained something crucial about prescience that I think will actually become a problem sooner rather than later. So in chapter 16, Koji was explaining prescience to Boruto in the same manner he did to Inojin later on in the series. And it was just general questions someone may have about the ability, which is, why not tell everyone everything and have them help? As he thinks it would guarantee things go in a good direction. It's logical thinking, but then again, it has its faults. Koji then replied that the more people that know about the future, the more the nature of that future is likely to change. So once you know a future, you can no longer act the same as before you knew it. And that act will make the future branch off in more complex ways, making it even harder to predict, to the point of completely negating the advantage of foreseeing the future. So he goes on this whole spiel about how many people knowing about the future is bad for them, and why he doesn't tell everyone about the future, which is understandable, followed by my favorite quote by Koji, for better or worse, to know the future leads to the act of destroying it. This quote tells the entire story of how things have been going so far. Because it's true, if you know the future, that can lead to the act of destroying it. And that's kind of the main topic of today's video. Because this doesn't apply to everyone else that's not a singularity, it applies to every single person. Because this way of thinking was the whole reason Koji hesitated to tell Boruto about Yodo's death. It was because he knew he wouldn't take that news sitting down. There was a high possibility that Boruto would have destroyed the future that Koji already set up for Sarada. If Boruto knew about it, he would have went to Sunagakure to try and save her, and this would make it so Jura arrives earlier than expected. And the fact that Jura arrives earlier doesn't hasten Kawaki's arrival. So essentially, Boruto would have to fight against Jura one-on-one for a longer period of time. And he probably dies for sure this time. Oh, and Sarada never awakens to MS, by the way. So that future would be cooked, and you also have a very high chance of losing Boruto in the midst of that. That's what he means by that quote about destroying the future. There's also a lot more examples of this throughout the story. And if you're like Boruto, once you hear some details about the future, you have the power to go out there and make a change to influence the future in your favor. Maybe by telling someone else some top secret information that they're not supposed to know yet until later on, or simply letting something play out that was supposed to be interrupted, or maybe the complete opposite. But that's not really the point of the video today. Boruto is a good example of this, but now I fear it's gotten way worse, especially now that more people know about prescience. The active people that know about prescience is Ada, Amado, Boruto, Shikamaru, Inojin, characters like Momoshiki, and even Kawaki potentially. For Kawaki, it's more as like, I know he will find out about it. Even if he doesn't necessarily understand it fully yet of what's going on around him, the sneak peek of the ending of the Boruto series insinuates otherwise. So eventually, he will find out, and that will be another person added to the list. So more recently, Amado found out about prescience, and he remains one of the most dangerous people to ever find out, because of his desire and how far he's willing to go to make it happen. Desire. That's the word of the day. Because it all depends on how strong your desire is. That's how we'll know who reigns supreme in the future of Two Blue Vortex. Let me explain. So in the most recent chapter, Amado asked Koji a question. And it's a question we all knew he was gonna ask him in this moment. Did you see any future where Kawaki uses the karma to revive Akabe? And what Koji said could change the future forever. He told him no. There's not a single future where that happens, because in almost every single future, Jura appears, and almost always unalives Kawaki. So I don't think this is a case where Kawaki just doesn't keep his word. I think it's a case to where he just doesn't make it that far to go through with his plan. Because he already said that he refuses to help Amado until Jura and the rest of the Shinju is taken care of. And also, if Kawaki is unalived by Jura, then that means Boruto might not be able to take down Jura. So the Shinju win. He already said that he would need his help to destroy Jura. So without Kawaki, that drops their chances down tenfold. So right now, the future where Jura is defeated is still hiding somewhere. It's their job to find it. What do they have to do to make it happen? What trials and tribulations would they have to endure? Well, whatever it is, it looks like they're far away from that reality. But fortunately, now that Amado knows about this ability, he might make that goal a bit more feasible. The opposite is possible too. The point is, now that Amado knows about prescience, he might be able to single-handedly create a future where Kawaki doesn't die by Jura's hand, and they end up defeating the Shinju, which would raise the odds of him seeing his daughter again by over 90%. We would normally say that's a good future, right? I would say that's a good future, especially since there's a chance that Amado has done something to himself. Maybe a brain link between him and Koji. So whenever Koji gets a vision, Amado does as well. This would allow Amado to keep up with the future and how his actions impacted the future. I would consider it a safety precaution in order for him to help Kawaki survive this catastrophe. Can you imagine a situation where Amado is modifying Kawaki's power or doing something that would result in a change of the future, but then he would have to wait until another prescience vision arrives to actually see how that affected the future. But if it doesn't influence Jura's defeat, he would go in another direction. Yeah, I can imagine that. And Amado would not give up. If his change doesn't change the future to how he envisions it, he would just make another change. Because his desire to see his daughter again is a direct representation of his persistence. And that's the reason I can see him making a huge impact. It's all powered by his desire and how strong it is. But that lies the potential problem. You ever heard the idiom, too many cooks in the kitchen? It refers to a situation when too many people try to lead, manage, or work on the same task at the same time. It leads to confusion, inefficiency, and a ruined result. I'll just say this, every character has a desire, and I'd say their desire is pretty strong. Boruto's desire is to defeat the Shinju, save Sasuke, and deal with Kawaki to restore his family. Kashin Koji shares the same desire, but his focus is more on the safety of the planet first and foremost. He doesn't really care about Kawaki or Sasuke. If there's a case where Sasuke's death means a more favorable outcome, then guess what? He'd be willing to make that sacrifice. So his morals don't lie in the same stratosphere as Boruto's. As we've seen multiple times throughout the story, even Kawaki has desires too. He has one of the stronger desires. His desire lies in unaliving Boruto, Code, the Shinju, and ridding the world of any otsutsuki residue. We know his desire is strong because he's even willing to dispose of himself after it's all said and done because of his own otsutsuki genetics. A resolve that strong is admirable and deserves recognition in a video like this, even if he's not fully aware of prescience yet. So when he learns about it, he will do things like Boruto has done to shift the future too. This is what I mean about too many cooks in the kitchen, because to achieve their goals, their desires, they will become a threat to change the future in their own image. And it doesn't even have to do with any of them having ill intentions, because everyone's goals revolves around one thing happening, and that's destroying the Shinju. Boruto has already been shown to be able to do it. He's done things based on some information he heard about the future that could more or less make a difference in a positive or negative way. Some of it was to make himself stronger, and some decisions he made was to encourage something monumental to happen. The situation that Boruto is in now definitely has to do with some information based off the future. So I see it like this. He's making Sora to do this because he thinks it'll benefit the future. That's the ultimate goal. He thinks it'll offer them a better chance to defeat the Shinju, but all it's really doing is hurting their chances. So let's say there's like 2 more people trying to make changes to the future at the same time. These 2 characters being Amado and Kashin Koji. You could possibly add Kawaki in the mix of this later on in the series. You know what? I didn't even think about this until now. Kawaki is already in the mix of things because Amado is using Kawaki as a puppet to do his bidding, which is the whole reason he got him to kidnap Koji in the first place. So right now, Amado has power because he's using Kawaki as a way to accomplish things he probably couldn't do without him. And Koji is currently using Inogen and Boruto for that same reason. So it introduces an interesting dynamic between Boruto and Koji, and Amado and Kawaki. One that I might consider making a video about explaining, but we'll see about that. But now you see the problem. If Amado, Boruto, Kawaki, and Kashin Koji are all making changes to the future, it could create a scenario where something goes wrong because of the many changes that were being made to the future. So now it's all about whose desire is strongest. That's how they will determine what happens in the future. If Amado has the strongest desire, he's going to mainly influence the future to an outcome that directly favors Akabe's survival. But that could turn into a future unknown to us. Anything could happen. So let's say in this future, Boruto's body could be completely taken over by Momoshiki, which could cause even more problems. Especially since Momoshiki swore to unalive Kawaki if it ever came down to it. So you see the issue here. If Amado can influence the future in his favor, it could lead to other events that are unfortunate for other characters like Boruto, Kawaki, and Kashin Koji. And it goes the same way for every character. Like if Kashin Koji's desire is strongest, we already know what that looks like. It's him using Boruto and Inogen to make changes to the future. But the worst part about it is that he would be doing whatever he wants in the process. That entails him sacrificing innocent people for the sake of the future, like Yodo. He could end up sacrificing Konohamaru like he was already gonna do. Maybe he sacrifices Kawaki, maybe even Sasuke, who Boruto is trying so desperately to save. And if Kawaki's desire is strongest, that might result in a future that is the worst of all. A future where he ends up destroying Konoha in order to destroy Boruto. A future that prioritizes the extinction of the Shinju along with Boruto. Actually, it probably looks like this future here that was only seen at the beginning of the Boruto series. So believe it or not, we already have an idea of who might end up influencing the future more than anyone else. But there's a version of this for every character. And that's because numerous of people know about prescience. That's the only place where Koji messed up. He's allowed too many people to get too much information on his power, and it's gonna bite him in the butt later. So here's my big question. Who can influence the future to the best possible outcome? If Koji does it, it might end up being a future that results in too many of Boruto's comrades being killed off. Characters like Himawari, Sarada, Sumire, Mitsuki, and potentially even Sasuke. If Amado influences the future in his favor, we could be riding in unfamiliar territory. It could result in a future where other characters might suffer because of Amado's own selfish desires. It could even create a new powerful enemy in the form of his daughter. If Boruto is in control, it could end up creating a future where he ends up giving Momoshiki full control over his body like he promised and make it harder on everyone else. Especially Sarada, Sumire, and Himawari, who still see Boruto as a loved friend, potential partner, and sibling. And the worst of all, if Kawaki gets the edge, it could create a future that is worse than any of the other futures I mentioned, aka the end of the Shinobi era. So let me know, if given the chance, whose future would result in the best option for the planet, and what would that future entail? Let me know what you guys think down below, and without further ado, if you all enjoyed this video, and don't mind seeing more like this in the near future, why don't you go ahead and like the video, also comment, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications so you don't miss any more videos like this, or when I go live for chapter spoilers. And until my next one, I'll see you boys and girls later, and I'm out. Peace.